Episode 9 is often described as a film full of chaos, action, adventure, sacrifice, and losses in this movie by writer and director J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio. This is Mike Zero. If you guys are new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to see future Star Wars content. Now, one thing that a lot of people are really looking forward to seeing in this movie is, of course, the action sequences that J.J. will be implementing into the film. It's often said that this movie is going to be on the level of Avengers Infinity War in some of the parts, which honestly I think is pretty ambitious by JJ to do something on that level. Now, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film when it comes to some of the set leaks, the set designs, the concept art, and storyboard descriptions, etc. One of which has all to do with Adam Driver as Kylo Ren and tons of extras as stormtroopers and more. Now, specifically, what's really intriguing is that it's described that Adam Driver shot a sequence over at Cardington in which he was leading an entire army of the First Order. It said that Adam was leading around 100 extras dressed as stormtroopers, flame troopers, and other new tiers. It's described that they were all in front of a large green screen that will be filled in with visual effects of a large base exploding in the background, while also multiplying the amount of troopers being led by Kylo in the form of CGI. Another sequence involved Adam ordering 100 extras to sprint toward a resistance base, where it's said to be a large wall exploding that allows Kylo and his army to infiltrate the resistance base. It's also described to be a large brawl between the First Order troopers and resistance fighters, and is a scene where dozens of extras had to play dead bodies on the ground. Additionally, another sequence was shot in which, after the battle, Adam was shouting a speech to the survivors of the resistance. It's described to be a moment to show the audience how ruthless Kylo will be in the film. So I want to go over a couple of parts about this, and as to why I am very excited about Episode 9, when it all comes down to these action-heavy sequences that are going to have a lot of drama to them, and a lot of in-between sequences where we're going to have Adam Driver actually shouting a speech to the survivors of the Resistance after the battle, the aftermath. So first things first, I want to go over the Cardington sequence. Now, this is something that sounds very massive, and something that you would expect to see in Lord of the Rings. Now, Kylo, portrayed by Adam Driver, is leading 100 extras in front of a large green screen. Now, this green screen, the visual effects is actually going to serve as a sequence in which, in the background, we're going to see another base actually exploding, with also hundreds of more stormtroopers added in that will be in the form of CGI in the mix, alongside with the live action stormtroopers actually portrayed by some of the extras. Now, this is where things begin to really pick up, and I believe that this is going to be based within the second and or third act of the movie, because we do know that JJ really wants to create quite the conflict between both the Resistance, the First Order, and of course the new threat in Episode 9. So, the next thing that I really do want to go over is how there's a sequence that was filmed in which a wall exploded that allowed Kylo and his army to infiltrate this resistance base, where Adam eventually delivers a speech to the survivors of both the stormtroopers, his army, and of course the resistance fighters going up against him. Now, we're not quite sure what the speech consists of. What really honestly does bring me back to it reminds me of something that you would expect to see in a movie like Gladiator or something around those lines. So you can see all the different tones that J.J. Abrams is really trying to implement into this movie. Now, it's described that this whole entire sequence is a brawl between the Resistance and, of course, the Stormtroopers. So expect to see a lot of Stormtroopers and Resistance fighters actually having hand-to-hand combat, as opposed to keeping their distance and using their blasters against each other. Now, this, like I say again, it really does sound like medieval times, and that's exactly what JJ and Chris are aiming to do in this movie. It's going to have a lot of medieval tones to it, a whole lot more than that of The Force Awakens and in The Last Jedi. Multiply the amount of actual troopers that are going towards this resistance base that's being led by Kylo Ren. Now, this is also a scene that's going to show us exactly how ruthless the character really is, how evil Kylo has really become. And I think that's exactly why I believe that this is based within the second act of the movie. We do know that the film takes place 1 year, roughly after the events of The Last Jedi. So a lot has developed. 1 year may not seem like a lot to you guys, But if you think about it, if you look at, the events of The Empire Strikes Back and what happened in between, that movie and Return of the Jedi, if you guys read a lot of the canon material, you can really see what happens in one whole year. So now, the last thing that I do want to go over is Kylo Ren. This whole entire speech of him, giving this speech to the basically survivors of the Resistance and of course the remaining troopers that he has by his side in the middle of this space. Like I say, it just sounds like that JJ is really trying to also insert a lot of those elements from movies like Gladiator and stuff like that. Anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to